Welcome, family. Shalom.
Shalom.
Shalom. Welcome, family, to the five pillars of marriage. We call them the five that thrive. We are on session 2, which is communication. Jess, we went over this. I was supposed to say it
No,
first.
I was supposed to say that part.
Jazz, you never listen.
I always have to tell you everything.
Jazz, I told you I was going to say it first.
You should have known.
You should just listen. Communication.
Communication.
It can be difficult, but with these practices, your communication should get better. So, our first one is going to be accountability, right? Because communication is the bridge between two hearts. Strong marriages speak with honesty, they listen with patience, and respond with grace.
Mm,
So, family, we are going to be reading out of the guide and going through that guide as a reminder.
right. Healthy couples take responsibility for their words, tone, reactions, and actions. Instead of always blaming one another's spouse, the finger pointing starts right in the mirror.
In the mirror. Yikes.
Words or lack of them are like emotional fingerprints. Accountability cleans up what pride ignores.
Wow, that's good. So, what accountability is not what accountability is not the accountability that we're talking about. What accountability is not, it's not controlling your spouse. It's not dictating their every single move, right? Knowing every single thing they do and just waiting for them to make a mistake, constantly pointing out faults, keeping score, right? You've been heard, or even if you're sometimes even keeping score as your partner does something good, so now you feel you have to repay it.
Mm,
Public shaming. Now,
right.
this is a big one, right? Because this is something you tend to keep with you for a little while.
Oh, yeah.
Perfection. That's right, family.
Mm,
You should not be expecting your spouse to be perfect.
right, right. And why does this matter? Well, accountability typically is directed or even associated towards someone else, not oneself. In marriage, most accountability must be self imposed.
Yeah.
Otherwise, relationships suffer tremendously. These are the common factors of bad foundations in communicating.
Blaming each other constantly. You're the problem. No, you're the
Oh,
problem. No,
yeah,
you're the problem.
it's your fault.
Sounds very familiar, right?
Oh, yeah.
Refusing to apologize or slow to admit when you've made a mistake.
Mm,
Excuses for repeating bad behavior, right? Or even just the same behavior that causes the problems. So you're excusing your bad behavior or hurtful behavior. That's just how I am, is typically the response after.
mm-hmm.
Turning every conversation into a defense case. What does that mean, right?
Right.
That sounds like something like this. I felt hurt when you were on your phone at dinner.
Mm,
And then your spouse would respond, "Objection! Objection!
mm-hmm.
I work all day. I can never relax around you. You always complain about something," right? Defensive, always defensive in a conversation. Bringing up old failures to avoid current issues. This is a big one, also, right? You're bringing up old problems, old mistakes. We can never move on so we can avoid current issues, right?
Right. So, great communication in marriage is built through accountability, understanding, and consistency. It's not a one day thing, it's a lifestyle.
Absolutely, yeah. What accountability looks like in marriage. You own your words, right? You admit wrongs quickly. Being willing to change. Remember, the finger is supposed to be pointing to you first. So you own your own words. You admit wrongs quickly. You are willing to change, right? You're gentle when correcting. You receive correction without being defensive. You are keeping your commitment. Remember, family, you made the commitment under God to love each other unto death do you part.
That's right.
What accountability produces. This is what accountability produces. Your spouses feel safe. Safe equals trust. Humility is honorable, right? Honorable equals respect. Problems get resolved quicker. That equals peace in the home, right? Shalom in the home.
Mhm.
Weak areas are actually worked on, and that equals growth. Conversations stop feeling dangerous, and that equals emotional safety. Communication is the cornerstone of marriage, the
Mhm.
cornerstone of marriage, right?
Right.
Because now we're able to weather a storm because we have a good, strong foundation, a cornerstone of our wall. So that way, when we are, there's trust, there's respect, there's peace, there's growth, and there's emotional safety,
Right.
there's good communication.
Oh, yeah. Mhm. And some scriptures that can correlate to this are James 5:16,
Yeah.
Ephesians 4:25 to 27, Proverbs 28 verse 13. If Yah has mercy, do we?
Yeah, that's a good one.
We also have an activity. So you can set apart some alone time
Yeah.
and you can have dinner together. You can maybe have a little dessert or get some tea. Whatever it is together that you enjoy doing, bring these things together and go through these uh, activities and
Yeah,
make them fun,
absolutely.
right?
They're supposed to be fun, something you look forward to, even if they're difficult to talk about. So,
Oh,
y-
and one more thing,
what's that?
no distractions.
Absolutely none. Zero. No distractions, no phones, no TV, no kids. This should be done at home specifically. This isn't supposed to be something that you go and do. And what's the purpose of it? Is because in your home, you're setting forth the foundation. You're saying, my marriage matters throughout my time. Let me set time up. And the most inconvenient place sometimes is to do it within your like your comfortability, your home, your comfortable place in
Mm-hmm.
that we'll say that regular space. You have to set apart time. Avoid absolutes. What do I mean by that? Don't start off responses with you always dot dot dot. You do this or you dot dot dot, right?
Mm,
And no scorekeeping. This is important. The listening spouse cannot interrupt or defend. On
mm,
this particular activity, you have to listen, practice listening. Each activity is going to have a different thing attached to it. What we're practicing here is listening to the other speaking. This is very difficult to do for some of us.
oh,
In
yeah.
fact, it was very difficult for me to do when listening to someone express something like Jasmine express something that I just truly didn't like. I couldn't listen past the point where I was hurt. This particular activity, there is no conversing back. And this is a difficult thing, right? You have to have a code word before beginning. What does that mean? That means if a spouse is getting distracted or off topic, oh, you remember? Oh, yeah, before you do that, I wanted to tell you something. It was really funny that happened at work. We put an example down because one of the ones we used was like lemonade, lemon juice, whatever it could be. It could be something that's funny. It could be something that, whatever it is, that's your code word. Hey, we're getting off topic.
Yeah.
Lemon juice, let's
Mhm.
come back. And you must end with unity. Pray together. Pray together. After you complete this, here's the rule you pray together.
So important.
Yeah. So we're going to spice things up a little bit. This is going to be part of our activities that we do. Plan it beforehand. What do we mean? We mean that after this comes out, you have a full week, plan it beforehand. Each spouse must bring something for the other. Obviously, this should be budget friendly, so set a budget. Don't spend a lot of money. You don't need a lot of money to have intimate time. You need intentional time to have intimate time.
Yeah.
You have to get your spouse something. If it be dinner, add something to the dinner. You could bring a dessert, you could bring a snack, you could bring something, you can bring a specific tea, you can bring something to add to the tea.
Yeah.
Let your imagination run wild on that particular aspect of food or whatever it is where you can have that safe place. But again, set a budget. Make this user friendly, something that you can do and practice frequently. Um, Here's a fun one. However, if you can't have your phone on silent or do not disturb, then don't do this. You can put this on a TV. You can put this on somewhere where you could put a little jazz music. You could put a little instrumental, chill hop, whatever it is that you like to listen to.
Mm,
Something with no words, just a little bit of sound to
yeah.
not make it so super awkward and kind of feel like a date. Now, here's the fun part: rock, paper, scissors, shoot. Who goes first to ask the questions and then begin enjoying your time together? Eat dinner together, whatever it is, and then you're eating or whatever you're doing, you're going to ask each other these questions. Now, we specifically only gave you 4 questions. These 4 questions are supposed to unlock conversation. However, the rules are when one is speaking, one is listening. You cannot respond. You can just keep listening to the conversation. Listen to the response. Okay, you then get to answer the question, and you could answer the question with the response, or you could answer the question with just how you would like to answer the question. Remember, no scorekeeping. Question one: what action did you feel loved by that I did this week?
Mm,
Question two: did I do anything this week that hurt or frustrated you? Question three: what is the one thing I can improve on this week? Question four: what is one thing we did well together?
mm,
Now, remember, these questions shouldn't be just answered quickly. Take your time, work through them, try to navigate some emotions, get a little more intimate, emotionally intimate, and have good conversations and enjoy each other's company. You're on
yes.
your first date on this particular journey that we're on. Okay. So, part two of good communication is honesty.
Mm,
Honesty. And what kind of honesty are we talking about? We're not talking about the honesty where we're just lying all the time. We're talking about the honesty where we're reserving all the time, right? Real intimacy can't grow where people hide everything, when you hide everything,
oh, yeah.
right?
Transparency, right?
Yeah, transparency. That's a big one.
Mm-hmm. So, honesty in marriage is the willingness to let your spouse see the real you,
Yeah.
not just the polished version, the strong version, or the everything is okay version.
Yikes.
Many marriages struggle not because the two stop loving each other, but because they slowly stop being open with one another. Honesty is the doorway to intimacy. You cannot deeply know someone who is always hiding. How it starts. Do you remember dating before marriage and how you would share everything and how eager you were to hear it?
I remember.
Thoughts, dreams, fears, frustrations, excitement, faith, sincerely listening and learning one another.
Pause there. Car rides. Remember being in a car
Yeah.
talking and having all kinds of
For hours.
conversations, hours
Yeah.
just talking.
Just listening and
Yeah,
talking
I
and
know.
so
Sorry.
nice. Yeah.
Remember those? Yeah.
The good old days. However, with any relationship, as time progresses, life, stress, hurt, fear, pride, and insecurities cause couples to start hiding parts of themselves.
And this is true, right? Because now you're speaking to a portion of the person who you married. And this leads to suppressed feelings,
Mm.
avoiding hard conversations,
Oh, yeah.
right? Keeping disappointments private and
Mm.
emotionally just shut down.
Yeah.
That hidden distance eventually affects intimacy, trust, and of course, connection.
Mm-hmm.
A healthy marriage should become a safe place where both people can speak openly without fear of humiliation, without attack, and without rejection. This is big because speaking honestly, a spouse should feel safe saying with love. This is very important. If you're not speaking with love, right, then these are most likely going to come off as attacks, not with something of concern, of true intimacy, right? Of true
Right.
just being open,
And, you know,
transparency, as you
and
said.
the delivery is everything.
Delivery is
Always.
everything,
Yeah.
always, right? How it's presented. If it's presented with love, I'm struggling, dot, 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 right? That sounds a little bit different. I feel disconnected lately. I need more affection. I feel overwhelmed.
Mm.
I'm hurt. I don't feel heard,
Mm.
right? It's a big one we hear frequently.
Right.
and I need help. I need help.
Mm.
These are difficult things, but when presented with love, they should be able to good, honest conversations. That's how you begin them. And the responses or reactions to honesty that you should avoid. Why do we have the things that you should avoid? Because these are typical things when presented with something that is difficult.
Yeah.
You would go into being defensive.
Mm.
You're defensive right away. Well, objection, objection,
Mhm.
objection, right?
Mhm. Yeah.
Angry outbursts. Now you're just angry. You just explode right in that moment. No process, no hold, no self control outbursts, right?
Mhm.
Sarcasm shuts that, you just start, sarcasm just starts happening. I don't know anything about that one, right? That's like my,
No, you're
that's
not sarcastic.
100% my all time thing. Shuts down, you just start shutting down and you start, honestly, the big one is, this is an unfortunate one, is now criticism. You
Mhm.
start to criticize your spouse.
Right. So practicing these sorry, practicing these and spouses will stop sharing their heart. This is one of the biggest dangers in marriage. Silent resentment. Resentment starts off small. Without honest conversations, those small frustrations become big problems,
Yeah, big problems.
like marriage breaking problems.
Yes, very, very
And
big problems.
bitterness is just, it's a very serious thing.
Yeah. It's like watering the tree of marriage with just bitterness.
Yeah, it's a
It's
big
bitter water, bitter water, bitter water. And then it just starts to grow from the roots, and the
yeah.
tree is made. The foundation of marriage is now made within bitterness and resentment of one
Mm,
another.
mhm.
And this is interesting because one of the spirit's fruits of the spirit, right, is actually goodness. And if you look up what the word goodness is actually the word generous, right? And we're not talking money here. We're talking showing favor to one another.
Mm.
So what if we treated marriage with that same concept, with that same mindset, right? I want to bear the burden more. I want to show more generosity to my spouse than she could show to me. If each spouse goes in with that same mindset, we're each going to be equally like just trying to be better than one another with generosity. I'm not talking like being like a mud mat or anything like that. I'm talking about truly trying to improve one another, bearing each other, right?
Yeah.
And the signs of resentment. This is a big one. Unfortunately, this is what happens when you don't do the thing that we just discussed, is are you have unmet expectations,
Oh,
right?
yeah.
You have unspoken frustrations. You have repeated hurts, feeling unappreciated, you're you're feeling unseen.
Mhm.
You're pretending everything is fine. Everything's fine. I'm fine. It's okay. I'm all right. And you are either easily distracted or you change subjects frequently. You don't want to talk about that thing. You're like walking on eggshells.
Yeah.
That thing is just too hard to talk about, right?
Mhm. That's so common. So we have some scriptures that you can turn to, and that is Proverbs 10, verse 9, Ecclesiastes 9, 9, and Luke 16:10.
Yes, these are good ones. Okay, so our next activity may be a little confusing on paper. We're going to show you and demonstrate what it looks like. Now, there's reasons and methods to these things, and the reason why is because, warning, right? Honest conversations are hard. They are very, very difficult, are
Mhm.
they not?
Oh, yeah.
So, come in with the right mindset. This is the big thing before all of this. You'll get the game and how we do this, and this will make more sense as you start to do it.
Mhm.
But be prepared to have difficult conversations, right? Don't be intentional about when you're having these conversations. They are necessary, they are important, right? So, we have a point system, which you're going to see we used. Can you show the camera here that we
Yep.
have? We have phase 10 cards and we have a value 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. If you hold it a little closer, boom, right there 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You'll see a value that's attached to it. And we're going to demonstrate this so that way this isn't very confusing for you. So, using a point system, you can use Uno cards, you can use regular cards, anything with a value on it. You take 5 of the highest value cards. The speaker will respond to the following questions aloud, and the listener sets a timer 5 to 7 minutes and responds with a pain value after the speaker is complete. If what the speaker says is in the top two highest values, you can set a 3 minute timer and respond. If you feel the need, practice the ability to hear everything. If you feel the need, sorry, yeah. Practice the ability to hear everything and not to be quick to respond. This is going to make more sense as we show you. Speak when you really feel you need to. You only get one response, so make it count, right? This shouldn't be a back and forth banter, right? This is not
Right.
something where you're supposed to be battling. This is where
No.
you're supposed to be chipping away whatever that pain is or whatever the next unlocking of intimacy is.
Mm.
This shouldn't be that back and forth. If you can't answer all the questions 100%, call for a break, call a timeout. Now, here's the thing when you're the one answering the questions, you only get one timeout. And the reason why is because we can't run away every time. We're in this together. We walk this path together.
Mm-hmm.
It's now time to put your communication at the forefront of your marriage. You get one timeout. It's difficult. You get one break. Even if within the conversation it gets out of hand, you call one timeout. Both of you have to be intentional about coming into the conversation. Now, the person asking the questions, or I'm sorry, responding to the questions, is then writing down the scores of the answers. So this is what this will look like, okay? So when we go to our activity questions, our question one, which is written down, I will be the one that is speaking the question and answering the question. Jasmine will assign an emotional value to me. I will then write it down, and then we'll go on from there. So question one, what bad habit have you replayed many times that has started shaping how you see your spouse? So I'm going to answer that one. The bad habit that Jasmine has, unfortunately, it is hmm, it is your just constant stacking of. Wait, am I supposed to do that? You always, am I supposed to do that? No, right?
You're breaking
So
the rules.
I'm breaking the rules. So what am I supposed to respond like? I'm supposed to say something like, what is the bad habit? What is a bad habit that you have? One of the bad habits that I've noticed that you have is you like to hoarder a lot of the mail. Now, what does this do, right? The mail, and unfortunately, sometimes we don't know if there's a bill or a check or whatever there is, right? So, what does this start to shape? I don't know if I could trust you if you actually paid a bill or not because we might have four bills for the past 5 years every single month inside of a inside of a drawer. So I'll open a drawer and I'll be like, "Wow, this bill is from 2019, and is this one paid?" I won't know, right? So this was a funny one, and obviously this is something we had discussed. But when having these conversations, it could be actually very difficult and very challenging. So hide these, right? So you now, what's a good one? Not, I mean, honestly, when having this conversation, she gave me a 4 on this. And why? Is because this one kind of hurt. Did she have a response? No. But could there be a question that you do ask that's difficult? Yes. And just be intentional about that, right? So shaping how you see your spouse. This shapes how I see you is I didn't trust you with actually telling you to do something if you were able to get it done because of the disorganization. What's a good trait that I've seen, and how did that start shaping? What how this what's a very good trait is you get up, you greet me at the door, you say goodbye, and how that starts to shape my thought of you is you start to actually encourage me and empower me that whatever it is I'm facing, I know I get to come home back to you and I know you're going to be there. And then when I leave, right? I feel like I can conquer anything because I start off with unity, having you with me and
Mhm.
enjoying. Okay, so now that after I said those things, and there's a very specific reason why we start with bad and with good, you get to respond back with a value. You give me a value now. What's the value that of that response? It's a 5. 5. So I'm going to write down score 5. Now there's 7 questions. So Jasmine has the decision. She has the choice if she wants to. If she wants to rebuttal, she now has 3 minutes to rebuttal. Now I gave my answers pretty quick, just so that way, for the sake of time, you guys know what to do. You can answer and be as in depth as you possibly would like. You have 5 to 7 minutes to answer the question. The rebuttal now, if she wants to rebuttal back, and I say rebuttal because it's very possible that that hurt like crazy, and it could be poor choice words. It could be she's just very sensitive about what I had said. It could be a very sensitive topic, whatever it is. If you have fives in your score, then that means, and she only gets one response. We come back to them, right? This is something you can come back to until all the fives are addressed. This is, or anything really above a three should be addressed. A one or two is something you can address at any time. A three to a five is specific value. Why is these cards important? These cards are important. I said something. If Jasmine just responded and didn't assign a value, how would I know I hurt her or that hurt, right? Or how did I know that anything we discussed hurt? So the number value associates with me, the speaker, answering the question with, oh, that hurt. Or, oh, that wasn't that painful for her. And I made that a bigger deal in my head, right? She knew that that was there, right? Or whatever spouse is there. Now, this is important, very important to the conversation. Why? When the response comes back, Jasmine responds back, right? To the question I had stated. She had said a five. Do you want to respond back? She says yes. She wants to respond back. I now write it down. Why do we say writing down? These simple habits protect a conversation,
Mm-hmm.
especially from like banter, back and forth fighting, right? It's very difficult to listen when you're sitting there. So these little habits, these practicing habits, do a good job of writing. What are you writing? What you hear her say, hear your spouse saying. In this particular example, Jasmine would be responding. I'd be writing back her response. Her response would be, what's your response to me saying that?
Well, I like to pay my bills electronically. And, these people they insist on sending this paperwork that I don't want. I check off the paperless stuff all the time and they still send me bills. So they're paid, but I don't feel like opening them
Or throwing them away.
or throwing them away because what if it's important?
Okay, got it.
But I'm going to
Okay.
get better at that.
So then I wrote down what Jasmine is saying. What she is saying is she she needs a bigger garbage can. uh, obviously, I'm just joking. What she's really saying is she's saying that she doesn't want to hit it, like it's not important to her. She doesn't want to hit that particular thing. She doesn't want to attack that thing because it's not important. So it gets pushed off. What Jasmine is saying to me is that that thing is not important because what's important is the bill got paid. That's what's important. The paper that comes in the mail every single month or whatever it is not important. So it just goes, that'll be something she'll address when she has to. When you're completed with this particular task, you can switch or you can take a break, call it a night, and then do this again.
Mm-hmm.
Why? Because we're not this is meant to have deeper conversation, more intimacy, where we could truly start chipping away at what are the issues in our marriage, right? In our marriage, in the walk of our marriage, where we can start walking back, holding hands, not parallel, but now intertwining. Remember, from emotional intimacy. Okay, so and any questions on that, you can just reach out to Jasmine and I, and we will gladly help you.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so understanding is the next one. What do we mean by understanding? Anyone can communicate well when everything is peaceful. Boy, is that true, right?
Yeah.
However, the real test is how you respond when emotions are high. This is specifically after we played that game that we just went through, right?
Mm.
Why? Why do we do that?
So many couples listen to defend themselves instead of listening to understand their spouse's perspective. A healthy marriage is not just saying what you feel, its strength comes from how you respond in disagreements. The word most used in disagreements that spiral to a much larger argument is
You,
you.
you, you, you,
You.
you, you, you.
You are overreacting.
No, you are.
You are not listening.
You are.
You always. Why are you so defensive?
Why do you,
Why do you act like that?
right? This is so true.
Right?
How many times have we argued and said those things? Right? I'm
Uh,
pretty sure we literally argued
Like
before
5 minutes.
going, yeah, like the last like 5 seconds ago. You don't, you should have, you were late,
Mm-hmm.
you were, you were on time, you didn't prepare,
Yep.
it's just, it's unfortunate, right? And
Yeah.
why do we do that? Because we don't practice these specific things, right? The pause principle or the controlled response. This is very, very important, right?
Mm-hmm.
This is super important to handling when emotions are high. And when practicing these things, you'll see when emotions ran high, will fizzle out way faster. It's like removing the air from a fire.
Mm.
It'll just completely smother, right? It'll
Yeah.
be done. So you pause before speaking. Wait a minute. Do I need to say anything?
Choose your battle.
Right, choose your battles. Lower your tone. This is a big one for me, right? Because I'm a very animated, very, very emotional person. But sometimes that could come across as like, wait, is he angry? Why are you so like loud right now? This is a big one, right? Lower your tone. You listen fully, right?
Mm.
This is a good one. You ask questions. Ask questions. Wait, did are you saying this? Is this what you're saying? Because this is how I understood this. You're not just saying like one word answers. That's just, you're not giving your spouse what they want to hear. You're
Mm-mm.
truly actually speaking because your spouse knows when you give one word answers, your spouse knows that you're hiding, you're not being real, right?
Right.
Stay respectful. This is a big one. You're not trying to fight to win a battle, right? You're not winning the battle of you being right versus your spouse being right. You're winning the battle of whatever it is that you're currently in disagreement on. That's what's coming against your marriage. The disagreement or whatever it is that you're battling is coming against your marriage. You both work as a team to conquer it. Take responsibility. I made a mistake on this. I messed up on this. It's a very, very, very important one in saying, hey, I messed up, right? And a controlled response can stop a disagreement from becoming destruction. Wow. Like that's, I wish a lot of people have said that, especially younger in our marriage, like our younger years, because there's been plenty of times where we were just going at it for the stupidest little
Yeah.
things, right?
Yeah.
A difficult but necessary task in a disagreement is to remember to keep the conversation productive. Productive. We're not fishing, we're not hurting, we're not breaking, we're not trying
Mm-hmm.
to hurt someone the way they just hurt us. We're trying to communicate what they just did to us. We're not
Yes.
trying to hurt them back, right?
Mhm.
Preventing the use of hurtful words. Very important. Choosing to understand not to win your position, but to explain and to listen to the response. A good question to ask is, am I speaking from wisdom? So you're asking in your own head, am I speaking from wisdom or emotion here? Take every thought captive, right? Am I speaking from wisdom or am I speaking from emotion? And unfortunately, the two are frequently misplaced. We speak and then we're like, oh, now we got to deal with the consequences, right? And this is like a very unfortunate thing because once a word comes out, there's no taking it back. Now we have to deal with the consequence. So let our words be very, very careful with what we speak, especially when emotions are high.
Absolutely. So understanding says, I want to hear your heart. And a controlled response says, I will handle your heart carefully.
That's a big one right there,
Mhm.
right? So we're practical habits. We're on our last page of our guide. Practical habits couples can practice. What are practical ones, right? While sometimes these are elementary, they are proven to help better communication. You'll see a lot of things, even in our activities, where you're writing, you're doing something where you're listening. You're It almost will seem like you're distracted, but you're not. There's like two things happening at once. You're learning how you can listen better, where someone else can communicate and use how to speak better. And you're doing something where these specific elementary things are actually leading to deeper communication. Sometimes, like, people just think they're going to be able to, like, they're like, all right, we're going to go have this really difficult conversation. I'm just going to listen. And then their first hard conversation, they do really good. But then the second topic comes up and you think, oh, okay, well, we could have this conversation. Boom, back to our original bad
Yeah.
habits. And look, if
Mhm.
it's not controlled or intentional, you just don't have true communication with progress, right?
Yep.
So then, while these are elementary, they are proven to help communication, right? We are repeat before responding. What does that mean? Jasmine says something to me, and she says something to me that I think she's saying. The best way to say is, what I hear you saying is dot dot dot, right?
Mhm.
Slow the tone and pace down. Very important. Tone changes atmosphere around the conversation. If I speak very loud, very fast, if I'm yelling, if I'm whatever it is I'm doing, animated through it, then I need to change that through the conversation. Body language is a big one, whatever it is, right? Change the atmosphere around the conversation. We don't
Mhm.
have to be in fighting. Yelling is typically what you would do in an argument. That doesn't need to happen.
Mhm.
It doesn't need to. Sometimes there are times where it needs to, sometimes, but not every conversation needs to end in arguing or screaming. And if it does,
Mhm.
there's poor practice here, right?
Yeah.
Take short pauses in between high emotional topics. Could you imagine if we knew this more and like sooner?
I know.
Like if our children were able to write down every time we were yelling at each other or whatever else. And the thing is because we didn't practice like not having self control. And this is the big one. It's not avoiding, it's saying, hey, time out.
Yeah.
I got to take a
Take
breather
a
here.
breather.
You know what I mean?
Mhm.
I'm starting to get very emotional. We're not This is not healthy anymore. I want to win.
It's toxic.
Let's just breathe for a moment, okay?
Mhm.
And we'll come back to it. Ask clarifying questions. This is a big one too. Can you explain more on that? So, first one, not to be confused with the first one, repeat before responding. You're saying, wait a minute, hold on. Let me just make sure I know what you're saying here because it seemed pretty clear. You're saying I'm not doing dot dot dot, or I should be doing, or I am doing, or whatever it is, right? Focus more. Can you explain more on that? What did you mean by that? Get more clarity. Even if something is said, maybe something is even said a little like painful. Sometimes people can be very, very mean or angry with their words, or even sometimes they think they're being gentle or they're not. But if you ask them to repeat it, they're going to be more careful with the words that they choose.
Yes.
This is important because this is the meaning behind the first time they meant to say it.
Mm.
Okay, so the second time that it's spoken, that's how you'll know what the intent behind the conversation is, right? Is your
Mhm.
spouse trying to hurt you? Is your spouse just trying to communicate something to you? Focus on solving, not winning. This is big. This is big, right? It's us versus the problem, not spouse versus spouse. You
Right.
shouldn't hear ready, fight
Yeah, you're on the same team.
every single time there's a
Yeah.
disagreement, right?
Mhm.
And that's a big one. There should be us versus the problem. You have to understand that's a big one. That's what marriage is supposed to reflect.
Mm. So, disagreements are necessary for strong couples to survive. It challenges the couple to learn from different angles or positions. Empathy and respect are very large parts in healthy communication.
Yeah, they are. Very, very big. Right? So what to avoid in disagreements? Poor tone or yelling. We went over this. Unless absolutely necessary. What do I mean by that? Sometimes you have to raise your voice to get their attention. This is hurting. This is hurting.
Mm.
Hey, I need your time now. We need intentional time here, right? Um, it shouldn't be done all the time. If every conversation is yelling, then there's going to be a checkout. If yelling is something that like is necessary to draw attention to a situation, to say to your spouse, "Hey, this means something to me." And that's it. The conversation should not continue in yelling. And if it does, that's where you got to pause and say this isn't working out, right? Um, belittling, eye rolling,
Mm,
mockery, harsh criticism, very, very big
mm,
ones, right? This shouldn't end in all of those things. If your communication style ends with those, or if any part of the communication is there, as a spouse receiving that, you can call out that behavior. Hey, and then really, if you did say something, here's the big one, right? This is something we've began to practice. You say something mean, emotions are running high. You're doing your best not to yell. You know what I'm saying? Because your voice starts to squeak. You're like, yeah, you're not listening. And you're trying your best to hold it back and you're not trying to yell. And then finally you say something you don't mean to say, or you just say
mhm.
something and you just look at each other in the eye and you say, that one was unnecessary.
Yeah.
That was unnecessary.
Mhm,
And then what should you do after you speak? Even if you meant it, remember gentleness, right? Self-control, like the fruits of the spirit. Even if blessed are the peacemakers, even if you meant it when you said it, you could say, look, I'm sorry for saying it that way. I got to try to re-say it. Let me think of a better way when I'm a little less emotional. That's a good one. I know these are difficult topics. I know I didn't see or watch my parents do or practice those things. Did you?
nope.
So these are big things. This is why we don't want the marriages that everyone else has. We want the marriage that everyone else wants, right?
Yes.
We want to be the example. We want to be the ones that say, hey, this marriage thing that God had created is beautiful beyond measure, right? It
Mm-hmm.
is teaching us different things, it's making us more connected.
Right. So, understanding is the key to ultimate emotional intimacy, unlocking the key factors to real intimacy, knowing how your spouse thinks, what hurts them, what encourages them, and how they experience love. A truly seasoned couple practicing these habits are not easily broken or in dismay. They have a healthy understanding of we
We
are
are
a team.
team. We are a team, right? This is big.
Scriptures for you to look into Proverbs 4, verse 7,
Read them together.
Proverbs 18, verse 3, Colossians 3:12 to 14.
Okay, so our last activity is the jar of understanding. What is this, right? We put a little jar in throughout the week and write numbers on a piece of paper. So what you're doing is all you're doing is writing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and you're putting them in a piece of paper. I prefer to do this in the morning time. It's just a little better. We have a little bit better healthy habits right now in the morning, but morning time is nice where you could just say, "Hey, what helps you feel, put your hand in the jar, 1 to 6, 1, boom. You ask your spouse that question, your spouse asks you that question. What helps you feel the most loved? What's a fear you rarely talk about? What's one of your favorite memories of us? These are fun because you should be like recollecting when you guys were in unity, when you guys were walking in good things, right? Name 2 things that are small but important to you. Now you're getting to learn a little bit about your spouse, where they're at right now, right? Recall your favorite date night. Why was it so special? Right? And then don't forget, it says plan another one. Try to replicate something close to it, or even plan a different one. Plan one that have a one in your back pocket that you guys get to go do when the time allots, right? Plan a very special date. And what is something you want us both to experience? All right. This is important to ask your spouse. Remember, 5 pillars of marriage. Communication is like the center pillar of a table. You have a table, two legs, two legs. Communication is in the center. So that concludes us today. Thank you so much for joining us. You got to remember, a marriage built on purpose. Well, actually, if a marriage is built on purpose, you know what it won't do? It won't fall apart accidentally.
Accidentally.
Shalom, and thank